Welcome everyone to the webinar series of Cretum Advisory. Today we have gathered to discuss. It is a series which we are talking on the impetus on investment in India. In the web series, we shall be covering the aspects from the industry leaders to international partners, ambassadors, bureaucrats, and the policy experts on the emerging theme of investment in India coupled with Make in India. So I am Kapil Mahani, CEO and co-founder of Cretum Advisory, which is a legal advisory and financial consulting firm. So in this series, we will be covering all aspects of investment in India into manufacturing and service sector from the overseas potential investors. We will also be discussing the central and state incentives in the upcoming series, which are currently in India or proposed to be offered to boost the local manufacturers as well as to attract the foreign investment into the country. In the part one of the series, we have with us Mr. Atharv Mankotia from Invest India team. Thank you, Atharv, for joining us.
My pleasure.
Atharv Mankotia is a senior investment specialist at Invest India, where he has worked for over 14 months on investment facilitation, policy, and business advisory and issue resolution support for foreign advisors. Atharv has experience working with investors from primarily the Russia, Chinese, and Middle East region and focus on the BFSI and fintech sectors at Invest India. Apart from that, Atharv is also a member of the task team formed in identifying the key economic recovery solution for India post-COVID-19. So before initiating, I request Atharv to introduce himself and also the Invest India to the entire audience, to the international audience, and as well as the audience which are in India and wanted to invest certain parts, wherein we want to understand what is Invest India, what is the creation of Invest India, why it is created, and how Invest India is playing a vital role in bringing the investment into India so far till late, and also what are the plans. So over to you, Atharv.
Thank you, Kapil. That's a very kind introduction. So Invest India, very briefly, like you mentioned, we are the National Investment Promotion and Facilitation Agency that very simply helps investors looking for investment opportunities and options in India. We are a non-profit venture under the Department for Promotion of Industry and Internal Trade, DPIIT, which is our parent department, which is housed under the aegis of Ministry of Commerce, the Government of India. We are a quasi-government institution wherein we have ownership both from private as well as from states and from the central government. So look at us as a body which is a single body which is made essentially to handhold investors, foreign investors that are looking at entering the Indian market, requiring all comprehensive support, from the entire investment life cycle. The stakeholders we deal with are industry members, our various missions abroad, the missions that are present in India, the government, both from a central as well as a state, in that respect. And it's across the entire value chain. We deal with the highest offices in India. We deal with the districts at the states. So our work is, very focused across the entire value chain of investments. So broadly, that is what Invest India does. And just to summarize, we are a single body which has been, since 2009, we were initially set up as a query portal for foreign investors that were looking at the country for investments. In 2014, under the Make in India campaign, so Invest India was tasked initially by FICCI. We were housed under FICCI at that time. We were given that cell, that body, to help drive and facilitate investments and grow investments and FDIs into the country. We were a very modest team back in 2014-15, and now today in 2020, We are a robust, strong, diversified team of over 175 people. We have various initiatives under us, including Startup India, the PMG, which is the Project Monitoring Group under Pragati. We have Agni, which is an initiative that is looking at commercialization of innovations, which is also housed under Invest India. And we have several other very interesting initiatives which are housed under Invest India. So our support is not just primarily for investors that are foreign in nature. We are also supporting the startups, the innovators, the larger, broad projects which have been set up in India. And we are working across that entire value chain right now. So Invest India also is one of the most awarded global investment promotion agency in the world. We have won several awards for the work that we've done. We would urge you and we would urge your viewers to please go through our website. It's a very comprehensive website, which gives you not just a picture of what the India opportunity is and how we've been working, but it also shapes, there's also comprehensive resources, very granular, very high level, very sector specific, state specific, which would be really relevant, not just for foreign investors, but also for investors and general industry bodies in India. Finally, just coming to the same point that Invest India, while our mandate primarily does say that we deal with foreign direct investments, we look at ourselves as a body that primarily works for ease of doing business. Our role is to facilitate, to grow, and to drive ease of doing business reforms in India. This comes across various different facets. As we go through and progress through this discussion, we'll talk about some of the work that Invest India has done.
Thank you, Atharv, for the descriptive points which you mentioned for the audience. That's about the Invest India. So how that journey so far? So if we look from the last 2 years, so there are so many investments which has come to India. So we wanted to understand that journey and also how that journey started from the standpoint of view of initial query which came from any of the potential investors and how you handhold those investors. That's exactly we want to understand.
Sure. So, Kapil, I'll just give you a picture of the last couple of years. It'll set a good precedent and a good benchmark as to where we're going. So the last 2 years have been very interesting for India. We have in 2019 been one of the top 10 recipients of FDI into the country. We got $49 billion just in 2019, which represented a growth of about 16% year on year, where we got 42 billion in 2018. Mind you, this is also a situation and a time wherein global FDI has actually remained fairly stable and flat at about 1.4 trillion, both from 2018 to 2019. So for India to actually, get a 16% growth in investments speaks volumes of the India opportunity and how the world perceives India as an investment destination. Furthermore, M&A activity also has remained fairly flat, declined across several areas and several geographies, including India to a degree. In spite of that, India has still remained a very strong, capable and attractive investment destination in 2019. From April 2000 to December 2019, India was able to attract investments and FDI inflows of close to $460 billion. And mind you, one very interesting aspect of that is most of this, a majority of this has actually flown in and come into the Indian economy in the last 6 years alone. So from 2014 to 2020, India has attracted, a majority of that investment. And a lot of that, especially in the years of 2018, 2017, we have been one of the top greenfield investment destinations across the world, wherein people have come and physically set up, their own infrastructure, their own facilities, their own factories, which speaks volumes of, some of the work that has gone into India. But also represents the type of opportunities that are still there and what we are actively working towards. So that's just the, where we've been in the last couple of years. If you'd like, I would also be able to, talk about some of the countries wherein our...
Yes, that would be great if you can provide us the countries and as well as the sectors which has made an investment in the last 2 years, or I'll say the couple of years.
Sure. So, India has typically got investments from across the world. We are geographically agnostic, as they say. We welcome everyone's money across the last few years. Typically, if you go by the DPIIT data, which mentions, where the inflows come from, you'll see the top inflows come from the likes of Mauritius and Singapore, which are typically tax havens and, favorable tax destinations and corporate headquarters for a lot of companies. But some of the interesting countries and some of the strongest countries wherein our FDIs have flown in from include the likes of Japan, include the likes of the US, includes the Netherlands, the UK, Germany. These are just few of the countries where our FDIs have been flowing in. We also have FDIs that we would be looking at. There are several countries that are actively looking at India across Western Europe, across the Middle East, across Australia, the Eurasian region, across Taiwan, China. So these are, again, I just mentioned some of the top investors that are coming into the country, from which country they're coming in from. But as I mentioned, we are geographically agnostic. We have strong presence of several different countries in India. Now, the sectors which have typically witnessed FDI growth, we have been witnessing strong FDI flow into the services sector. It represents close to 20% of our FDI flows. In 2019-20 alone, we had close to about $6.5 billion just flow into the services sector. Now, the services sector talks about, banking, financial services, insurance, but also talks about the likes of outsourcing, research and development, technology, testing, analysis, showcasing India's a very strong hub for these type of services. It's no mystery in the last 1 decade, India has emerged as this technology hub, has emerged as this servicing hub. And the FDI inflows just, validates and reiterates that entire point. Another very key aspect and facet to where our FDIs have been flowing in include computer software and hardware, which is our second largest FDI inflow across the last couple of years. Telecom has been also very, very favorable investment destination as a sector. And then we have the likes of pharmaceuticals, construction, automobiles, oil and gas, which have also typically witnessed significant FDI and inflows in the last few years. Just to point some of the key, you've seen some of the marquee investments that have come. So in 2019, we had Total, a French company, which is an oil and gas giant, invested close to about $800 million into our country in a gas distribution business of Adani. And in the last 3-4 years, one of the most marquee investments that has come in, which was all over the news, has been Walmart's acquisition of Flipkart, which amounted to close to $16 billion. One last point I would like to touch upon when we're talking about India. Now, you know where the money is coming in from, where the money is going. Typically, what also people should look at is why the money is coming into India. Those are critical aspects.
That's very important.
And it's really interesting and it's really unique. And, this is something that we, mention across various global and domestic platforms. And I'd like to, also inform your audience in case they don't already know, but there are some really interesting facets and really interesting points as to why this money has been coming into India. So India's consumption market is, close to being valued at $4 trillion by 2025. That's a massive, massive opportunity. Companies want to, tap into that buying opportunity, tap into that consumption opportunity. Now, where this consumption is coming from is also, there are various aspects to it. We have one of the strongest, youngest populations in the world. Our median population is between the age of 28 to 30. So our consumption is driven by, Gen Z, millennials, who are looking at not just buying more, but they're looking at buying new, buying better. So those are the ones that are actually looking at driving this entire consumption. They have higher disposable incomes. They have aspirations. They are moving rapidly from tier 2 to tier 1, from tier 3 to tier 2. So that urbanization, mobilization has been also critical. Again, one thing that you have heard over the last 5 years has been our technology penetration. Yes. We have close to over a billion mobile phone subscriptions, over 600 million internet subscriptions. What that enables is for people not just to physically go to a store and buy, but also, you know, to be able to purchase online. That entire drive of e-commerce, that entire ease of doing business online, and that entire commerce platform, which a lot of India's companies have tapped into, that entrepreneurship, that innovation. It's a very interesting amalgamation and a very interesting, melting pot of different capabilities that has come to create this really strong consumption market. It's across the world, you will see, you know, people flocking to India to tap into that. Now, also one important aspect to look at is, which I mentioned, was when the average the average median age of India is 28 to 30. What a lot of companies, especially consumer good companies and companies that are looking at tapping into that consumption, their product life cycles, you know, the tapping in, catching, the consumer at an early stage, that is critical to them. So why by default goes up, because they look at longer life cycles for people consuming goods and services. So that is also one very critical aspect, softer aspect to why, you know, companies have done this research and analysis, why they're setting up. And as I mentioned, when the world FDI has remained fairly flat, why India's FDI has actually grown, because there is an opportunity that is coming into India. Last but not least, what this reflects in is we are currently, our ease of doing business rank is 63. Just in 2016 alone, we were 130. We have come a long way, but we have a long way to go. There are still a few inefficiencies in the system that are being monitored, reviewed, revised. You know, it's something that, everyone from the industry has been vocal about. Everyone from the government has been vocal about that. This is something that they're considering, they're doing, and we're action oriented. We are looking at trying to make ease of doing business a lot easier in India. So now 63 from 130, which is a rapid increase, one of the top 10, increases over that period. So that just shows that how rapidly we have been increasing and how rapidly we can increase going forward. So there are companies that are looking at tapping into that entire ecosystem of ease of doing business, setting up, as soon as possible, so that once India's ecosystem is even more conducive, more business conducive, they're right there in the midst of this entire new world that India presents them. So, I mean, that's just a brief of why the India opportunity is what it is today.
A well-defined answer to that. But as you mentioned about the consumer, so herein my concern, or my aspect which I wanted to apprise everyone here is that what is the role of Invest India in giving the knowledge, as you mentioned that India is a consumer market. There is a lot of potential which the potential investors are looking in terms of the consumption pattern. So now, how the Invest India helps those potential persons to look and initiate certain level of discussions. You mentioned about Walmart, which has come to India. So what was the role, and what was the role of Invest India in bringing that and giving them the comfort that India is a market which actually looks for companies like Walmart and other aspects? That's exactly the question which mine.
Sure. So
this question has a linkage with the prospective coming investors which are coming to India, and they will look. So this is one question they will always, that how that Invest India helped those companies in bringing that, apart from opening up their eyes, visualizing what exactly they can see from the India market, and any other aspect from the ease of doing, and giving them one window solution from that perspective.
Sure. So great question. If I get into immense amount of detail, it could probably take me a couple of hours. So I'll try
in brief.
in a very systematic manner for you. So as mentioned, Invest India, we are the national facilitation and investment promotion agency. Now, what that entails, the work we physically do. I mean, it's a great definition and it sounds great, but now I will get to what we actually do on a granular level. The awareness that you're talking about. The awareness could both be from the India opportunity that companies might know about, India's branding as a whole. India's opportunity as a whole is known and renowned across the world. Invest India does its best to amplify those investment opportunities. Like I mentioned, our stakeholders are not just domestic. We are working with different associations, different stakeholders from across the world. The way we are structured is we have country teams, we have sector teams, and we have state teams at Invest India in the entire Make in India initiative. So country team, typically now we have several country desks as well. Now country desks, for example, I'll give you an example. We have a China desk, we have a Middle East and North Africa desk, we have a UK desk, we have an Americas desk, we have a Taiwan desk. So there is no region in the world which we have left. Now, each member of our, the Make in India initiative is part of a particular country desk. Their aim and their goal is to collaborate with our counterparts in those countries, is to collaborate and to inform and to raise awareness and to showcase the business opportunities that India has to those countries. Very, great. I'll give you a brief example. Davos, the World Economic Forum, the granddaddy of the entire economic forums across the world, most renowned, most affluent, most, the who's who of business and industry and just the entire world are there. Invest India has significant presence when we go there. We have put pavilions there. We have, held meetings at the highest level with some of the most keen investors over there. So we do a lot of diligence as to who are the investors that are looking at our country. There is a method to this. So each country has to identify, particular targets. It could be proactive, it could be reactive, but we know that we are constantly learning. We are constantly collaborating with our missions abroad. So for example, if, I will give you a personal example. When we go to Russia, to set up meetings, to understand, generate interest, we collaborate with our embassy, in Moscow. They have, regular dialogues with Russian businesses that are looking at India. We are also on a, constant discussion with the embassy over there to just understand what is the pulse of investors, what is the general, what are they looking at. We tailor make and customize our pitches. Okay, this is just the first layer I'm talking about. We customize these pitches. So for example, if it's an oil and gas company that is looking at India, they might be on the fence about this. We will have a high level meeting, especially a company which is very, very keen on looking at the Indian market. We will, as a body which has, a stakeholder where the government, we have access to the government who sits in on these meetings at times. We will have a senior level government official also come and give comfort to, these investors, these potential investors. These are the, the investment forums I'm talking about. Typically, we do go on these road shows. We go on these delegation visits where we're attracting investors. We showcase the India opportunity. It could be in the form of just one-to-one bilateral meetings. It could be in this, in a grand pavilion-esque manner, but we are on the road. We don't just sit here, make phone calls. Primarily, we are talking to people. We are learning rapidly. We are on the road. We are traveling across the world. We are doing our homework and we are executing and implementing based on that research. We are also taking in inputs from our stakeholders in the central government that this is where they're looking at getting investors. So for example, if there are some capabilities that they require or some capabilities that they're trying to push from different investors, we are the ones communicating that to investors. And this is just the tip of the iceberg that I'm talking about. A lot of times, as I mentioned, the India opportunity is well known. So a lot of the investors come to us directly. They say that, okay, we are interested in investing in India. How can we go about doing so? So now that also comes to a second bit. So the country bit is one. We also have sector teams. We have over 25 sector teams at Invest India with sector experts. Those sector experts work with our line ministries, our departments, our associations to work on the granular policies, the EODV, the all the fundamental things that go into actually moving that investment from a regulatory perspective. So for example, with the BFSI and the fintech space, which I'm part of, our stakeholders become the likes of the RBI, SEBI, the Department of Economic Affairs. So we are, in touch with these government stakeholders to understand, to facilitate meetings, to sit in on these meetings, to provide representations to these companies, and also to communicate what the government has towards these investors. So we are constantly in the middle of that entire communication, and we try to build as much efficiency and optimization in that entire process. India is a very unique country, as everyone knows. We are 1.3 billion strong. We have so many different line ministries. We have so many different departments. We have 29 states, 7 union territories. We also have a very strong states presence in India, at Invest India, I'm sorry. Over there, that is where the investors, especially in Greenfield, are grounded. So, we have teams over here who have strong presence at the ground level, where, we know people at the district, at their IPA level, at, their industries commissioner level. So we know across those levels, we collaborate with them. We are constantly providing and taking inputs from them as well. We're doing site visits. We're handholding investors to physically to a particular site. We will show them land. So I will give you another example. A lot of companies that are looking at setting up electronics, for example, one of the belts which has emerged in the last 3-4 years has been the Uttar Pradesh belt. We have a team which is dedicated to go to these regions, who know, there are people who actually know these regions inside out. They know the map of these places. They know the incentives. They know the land costs. And this is at the tip of their, this is at their fingertips. So stuff like that, where an investor gets a level of comfort that, okay, it's great that you're showcasing me the opportunity. It's great that you've done the regulatory bit. Now what's next? So the next bit is actually coming, hand-holding them, being like, okay, you want to set up, say, in Madhya Pradesh, we will send a couple of people to showcase, the sites that you're looking at, basis your requirements. If you want someone to look at Gujarat, we will go and we will travel with you. We will provide you a comfort. Those are just the broad level things. Again, it's a long process at times.
Yes.
There is a level of comfort. Level of comfort is one, but also collaborating with states for the incentives that they need to give. There is a communication. At Invest India, over the last 4 to 5 years, we have built a significant amount of, we've been collaborating with them. We've done capacity building for a lot of the IPAs at states. So, our word, holds some weight, significant amount of weight, I must say. Because the inputs that we give are not just going to be, it's for the betterment of the entire country. It's for the betterment of the investor, but also for the state that it's being grounded in. So, and last but not least, I forgot to mention this in the starting, but our services are completely pro bono. So, we don't charge our clients.
That's a non-profit organization. You mentioned in the starting about the constitution.
Yes. So we are completely pro bono. So those are the things that we are actually doing to physically handhold, guide, and provide a facilitation assistance to our investors. Finally, it's not just the new investors that are coming in, but there have been investors who have been typically here or are looking at expanding. A lot of times they are facing issues with policies. They're facing issues with particular, company specific or sector specific issues. We take these issues up at, the highest level, whether it be something pertaining to BCD, whether it be something pertaining to a policy or a regulatory aspect which is coming in, something which is, so, that level of comfort as well, wherein we are working closely with the company to represent their issues at the highest level with the relevant stakeholders so that they can move on and get on with their business. Because I understand, and, as everyone understands that, especially in certain, investments in certain businesses, margins are thin. So they're dependent on particular incentives. They're dependent on particular regulations. They're dependent on particular compliances. We understand those things. We understand wherein the requirements are. We understand what can be done, what would take time. We are fairly, we communicate on a day-to-day basis with our investors that these are particular issues where it is. We send them on a regular basis project reports. We do our follow-ups. And, that's what we do. We have a team, as I mentioned, we have a team of close to 175 at Invest India, which we have several, majority of them are under the Make in India initiative. One more small thing that I'd like to add is our workforce is represented not just by, it's a very unique workforce. We have people from consulting backgrounds. We have people from investment banking backgrounds. We have people from the government. We have people from government agencies, business agencies, from industry. So our expertise is across the board. We have such a unique skill set over here to collaborate and to put that skill set and to channel it to actually provide that level of guidance. So per investment, so just to break it up, per investment project, say for example, a large textiles manufacturer is looking at setting up in India. Say for example, that manufacturer is coming from Australia. The Australia team will collaborate with the textiles team with, say for example, the Madhya Pradesh team. So it becomes a team of 3 experts. Each investor, relationship manager, domains, 3 different critical aspects to look at, but working simultaneously, collaboratively to ensure that there is comprehensive yet granular support for that investor. So that is, I mean, just a brief. As I mentioned, I can go on about this across.
No, that's in fact, in this short session, whatever you have described, that is the maximum which can be covered in a short span of time.
Yeah, not an issue. Yeah.
So the next question, Atharv, is internationally, there is a lot of discussion regarding shifting supply chain out of China. And Japan recently announced that the setting up of 2.2 billion fund to help its manufacturers shift production out of China. So how is Invest India planning to attract these kind of investment to India post-COVID? And in simple words, if I'll say that, what are the incentives which the Invest India or via government is proposing to all those potential investors who are looking to relocate their manufacturing operations? Kapil, since you are focusing on the China, so I'm sure there is a lot of things which you are aware of it. So that's the, if you can put a light on that, these aspects.
Sure. Thank you. So yeah, I mean, Japan's relocation fund, as it's called, the $2.2 billion fund, was a very unique one, which came a few weeks ago, where, so there is, I mean, it's no mystery, or it's no secret that there is a look away policy from China, at least to a degree. There are companies and countries that are vocal about moving their base from China. I think the entire motion of attracting investments into India was set, pre-COVID as well. Like there were some of the, stepping stones were laid pre-COVID. I'd just like to touch upon a few of them. So the abolishment of the DDT, the dividends distribution tax, was seen as a positive thing for investments in India. One of the marquee, bold, reforms that came was the entire slashing of the corporate rates to make it more in line with some of our competitors, especially focusing on manufacturing. That was a bold move that was pushed by the government of India to ensure that, our corporate tax rates are at par with our closest competitors along the lines of Vietnam. Also, one more thing, which was a unique initiative that was launched pre-COVID last couple of years, was the entire bonded warehousing, initiative, where raw materials or capital goods which are imported and the waiver of import duty or the deferment of import duty of them, especially when they're used for exports. Those are, again, really interesting initiatives that were launched pre-COVID, so as to at least try and, create that roadmap and create that ease for investors to come into and make it even further attractive. Now, you're completely right that there is, significant opportunity to tap into the manufacturing supply chains of various companies. In the news every day, you see US has 100-odd companies that are looking at moving away.
Yes.
A lot of the countries, whether it be Vietnam, Indonesia, India, are coming up as key front runners for garnering that investment. What we are doing first, I mean, I'll just talk about certain things that Invest India is doing, and then I can just talk about some of the sector-specific policies that have been coming. So Invest India, as I mentioned, given we have several stakeholders, whether it be central government, whether it be associations, whether it be industry, we are eager learners at Invest India, just like our country, our government. One thing that I'd like your viewers to know, we are very eager learners. We are people who want to learn, want to talk, want to interact, and want to understand different aspects. We are not rigid in our ways of going about business. We are open to learning. I mentioned that I'm part of this business reconstruction team that was formed, amidst this entire COVID outbreak. We were a team of 6 to 7 collaborating. Now, this is a very unique, team that was made at Invest India. What we were doing was we were working not just with industry inputs from, companies. We were working with some of the leading consulting companies in India. You name them, and they were part of this entire collective effort to crowdsource, streamline, vet, and finally implement and put into a consumable document of sorts for the government, central government, key policy interventions from a macroeconomic, from a sectoral perspective. So this is a very unique sort of collaboration between some of the leading consulting companies, where Invest India was at the forefront of this. It's not just the consulting companies, because we've also worked with legal, some of the leading legal companies in India, who also have so many insights, so many suggestions, and we would like to leverage them. So we've been working collaboratively with these people, just from an Invest India perspective. We have also been collaborating with our counterparts, our business associations, whether it be different IPAs, whether it be different business chambers, whether it be the UK IBC, the US IBC. So we have been in touch, not just in touch, we have been collaborating with them across various different webinars, across various different topics, across various different sectoral interventions. We've been working 24/7 for the last 2 months, just so that we can get and gather as much information, process it, create as granular information as we could, and have that presented to our stakeholders, who are the eventual decision makers. Our inputs have gone to the highest office in the country. Our inputs on a day-to-day basis are sent to different central government bodies. And we have been collaborating with them, given the fact that we also have several inputs from industry and from the various stakeholders that I mentioned. Now, that was just about Invest India. I will say, from the central government perspective, one point that I touched upon was we are keen learners. So you mentioned, as I mentioned, that there are ministers in our, central line ministry, central ministers, who are also conducting webinars with the presence of some of the leading private equity and venture capital funds in India for their inputs, with several foreign missions. I mean, if you read the news, you will see Honorable, Minister of Commerce has held several of these interactions, wherein
yes.
He has been interacting, and we have also been part of those discussions, where a lot of them have been sharing their insights. We have been noting their insights. We have been asking them, counter-questioning them, so that we can just create this one solid strategy for India post-COVID. Now, I think on the 12th of May, one very, well-put speech mentioned India's self-reliance. Now, COVID definitely has impacted, the global economy, global entire landscape. It's also presented India a significant opportunity across various facets. It's a time to reset, rebuild, reimagine, and refocus. So now, not just, attracting supply chains, but what about, issues wherein we can try and get self-reliant in particular areas where we've been so dependent on other countries. So that boost towards manufacturing, that boost towards, giving our industry, a level playing field, ensuring that there are incentives, there are capabilities, infrastructure for all these things. Now, I'll just touch upon some of the, sectoral aspects to where India has come in the last few, since this entire COVID outbreak has happened. So again, as I mentioned, the Make in India campaign and the Make in India entire ideology was reiterated by the Honorable Prime Minister on his speech on the 12th of May. So currently, as we speak, there are several provisions and amendments for the existing industrial policies that are being evaluated on a day-to-day basis with several insights and inputs from various line ministries, various departments, various associations, bodies, etc., across various sectors. So this is something which is going on. As mentioned, we are currently at 16% of our GDP for manufacturing. We want to grow that to 20%. We want to grow that first to 20% by 2025, then grow that further. There are focus sectors which have emerged from this, which would push India into global dominance, as well as self-reliance and import substitution. Now, these are critical aspects to which we have to look at moving forward. This is now a new opportunity for India, and we want to capitalize on this. So some of the initiatives and sectors wherein we have witnessed, some of these opportunities are pharmaceuticals, leather and footwear, food processing, healthcare, medical devices, agrochemicals, furniture, just to name a few. In pharmaceuticals, if I just touch upon a few of them, in pharmaceuticals, it's been public for a while. There has been the development, there's a development in process of 3 mega bulk drug parks in partnership with the states, where there is a large corpus which has been set apart for each of these bulk drug parks. There is production linked support for these bulk drug parks and for companies that are coming and setting up over there. So that is going to boost our pharmaceuticals industry significantly. These are things which have been pushed. Now from medical devices, again, there have been exemptions, there have been custom duty waivers, up till September 2020 of the import of critical aspects and critical things wherein we feel that there's going to be significant opportunities. This is in line with ventilators, masks, PPEs, test kits, and inputs for the manufacturing of these. So we want to be reliant, we want to be self-reliant in the manufacturing of, the items that I just mentioned. Also, there are production-linked incentives for the incremental production of select medical devices. So this is also something that we are, which is already in implementation. There is also promotion of 4 medical device parks as infrastructure support, which just comes under the entire gamut of these medical device parks, and these parks looked at as an infrastructure project. Textiles is again one of the key sectors that we are trying to get absolute global dominance in, which so there is the National Technical Textiles Mission, which has a corpus of about $200 million, which has various incentives and schemes under the entire umbrella of it, which aims at making India a $50 billion market by 2024. Over and above that, there have been several other initiatives that are launched within this entire ecosystem of textiles. Finally, I'll just touch upon ESDM. I think that's one of the
one of the most important.
One of the most recent ones, yes.
In fact, over there, in fact, what you mentioned about is more from the standpoint of view of the India is going to manufacture more. So now the exemptions, if you will see, has gone from a semi-knockdown condition to a complete knockdown condition. So earlier the exemption were more from the point of view when the goods were required to be mentioned, wherein certain parts can be imported. But now the importing of that parts is not going to more. It's more like a complete knockdown condition, wherein the parts which are exactly the country is looking more from the manufacturing, even at a smaller partner level, rather than the micro or macro products. So as you touched upon that aspect of the incentives of the ESDM, just give us some light about the ESDM in terms of the incentives, the broader incentives, and what all credentials we have achieved into the ESDM sector till now. That's from the company aspect. Just touching upon that.
So I'll touch upon the 3 schemes, that have been announced and that have been over the news over the last couple of months. So one of them, obviously, the production-linked incentive scheme, which is So there's a corpus of close to 41,000 crores, which is to be awarded over the next 5 years to just boost domestic manufacturing and attract larger investments in the entire ESDM and electronics manufacturing value chains for mobile phones, electronic components, and ATMP units. So this is going to, again, these incentives are going to be rolled out to companies that are going to be setting up over here. There are going to be waivers. There are going to be, various tax incentives, tax breaks, etc. for these for these manufacturers that are looking at setting up over here in India, so that we can, get that reliance and get that dominance in that particular sector. Another key scheme which has come out has been the SPECS, which is the scheme for promotion of manufacturing of electronic components and semiconductors. Again, similar to production and incentives, it's one of the schemes which is looking at bolstering the entire manufacturing ecosystem and driving investments in a particular field of electronics manufacturing. About 3,300 crores has been earmarked for incentives that would be awarded over the next 8 years, to the entire manufacturing ecosystem for electronic components and semiconductors. This is a critical area for India to gain global dominance. India does have capabilities in this space, but India has immense more opportunity, the workforce, the conducive environment. And the third one, which is actually one of the most interesting ones, the Modified Electronics Manufacturing Cluster Scheme, EMC 2.0. So the incentives here, again, similar to the SPECS, it's about 3,800 crores, which has been earmarked for the next 8 years to develop now, not just the incentives, it's to develop the industry-specific facilities. So developing that infrastructure which would make, the manufacturing conducive and make manufacturing of ESDM and electronic products attractive in India. So this would be, incentives given for the manufacturing and production of facilities such as common facility centers, ready-built factories, sheds, and, general plug-and-play facilities. So, electronics is something which is at the forefront of industrial manufacturing in India. There has been focus on it in the past. Now there will be a lot more focus on it. You will be seeing this a lot more. We have the workforce for it. We have the schemes in place for it. We have the states that are ready and hungry for these investments. Invest India is working closely with some of these states, working closely with our central line ministry, for in the entire conceptualization, drafting, and implementation of these schemes. You will be seeing this scheme, these schemes, in fact, several times, and you will be hearing about these schemes several times over the next couple of years, because this scheme will be, almost like a backbone towards driving investments into our country.
In fact, the electronic and driving the manufacturing from China, wherein these electronic sector is one of the good sector which China has, and with these kind of incentives which government is giving to give certain level of capital subsidy as well as the production level subsidies, this will surely boost the manufacturing specifically into the electronic sector. Absolutely. And as we have seen in the news that that's conformity, that's more from the news that Apple is surely coming to India for the manufacturing, for complete manufacturing as a contract manufacturer, or that's a model is yet to define. But these is one of the schemes which I'm surely India is pitching to attract such level of manufacturers into this sector. So the next question is which we have is Invest India. We have seen in the past that Invest India has actually played a good role in making a pace between the states to boost the kind of investment and giving certain level of incentives. So actually, they have created a peer pressure among the states to boost and to give certain level of incentives so that to enjoy the investments from the overseas countries and the potential investors. So can you just give us a certain limelight about the states which are more keen in terms of and the benefits and the investment which are coming into certain level of states in the last 2-3 years? You can provide your reply accordingly.
Sure. So, India, as I mentioned before, is a very unique amalgamation and melting pot of different states, for that matter, where each of them has their own capabilities, each of them has their own unique credentials, each of them has their own unique ways of doing business. And the beauty of it is that all of them have some unique point to them which have unique attraction to investors. There are clearly the more dominant states in India, the likes of Maharashtra, Gujarat, UP, which have been at the limelight of driving and growing investments. So Maharashtra has been, touching close over about 25% of investments into the country, of FDIs into the country. Obviously, given its sheer size, given its access to ports, given its consumption, given its infrastructure. But there are also several other states which have been catching up and doing really well. So, I'll touch upon a few of these states.
Yes.
It's no, some of the states which have actually moved towards as a reaction as a reaction to COVID. So Gujarat, Madhya Pradesh, Haryana, Himachal Pradesh, Rajasthan, Punjab. These are the ones that have extended their working hours from 8 to 12 hours. This was over the news a couple of days ago, wherein they're making their availability of workforce a lot easier for longer shifts with certain conditions and certain guidelines in place. Definitely. So these are some of the incentives that have come from these states. Now, if I just touch upon Uttar Pradesh, Uttar Pradesh is actively working on developing an online system for the allotment of land for all industrial and commercial purposes. And it's in talks right now with several global companies for attracting investments. I mean, you read the news, you'll see
Yes.
which is in talks with, some, and we're working, closely with UP. Uttar Pradesh has emerged as an electronics manufacturing hub, as mentioned by you before. It's trying to capitalize on that. It has great infrastructure, and it, is looking at further bolstering that. The state is also, so the state is also working on more further industrial policies and reforms within its entire industrial policy ecosystem to drive some of those get some of those supply chains out of China and move it to UP. UP also has a unique access to different markets. The infrastructure that is there is going through a reform, going through a change right now. There is infrastructure spending, which is, across the entire board, as you'd see, new airports, new roads, new rail channels that are coming up. So Uttar Pradesh is actually at the forefront of some of these things. Madhya Pradesh is also another very unique case. They've also announced several new reforms with respect to labor laws to give employers more freedom in how to operate. Madhya Pradesh has emerged as an industrial hub in India. There are several different industries, whether it be consumer goods, whether it be textiles, that have claimed or made Madhya Pradesh their home. They have been working very, very diligently, they've been working with investors over the last several years to actually gain several greenfield and brownfield investors. You see Madhya Pradesh as an investment destination has transformed, and they've done a really good job about it. Gujarat, no mystery, and again, absolutely one of the, poster childs of India's investment potential. The state is now currently actually preparing a plug-and-play facilities in the likes of Sanand, Dahej, and has about 30,000 plus hectares of land available for the GIDC, which is their investment, which is their industries commission body, to attract companies that are planning to shift base from China. So these have also been earmarked and kept aside for the movement. Gujarat has great infrastructure, some of the best roads in India, some of the best ports in India, access to different export markets, given that fact that it has ports. So these are the things that they're leveraging on. It's not just they're trying to better their existing strengths, and also they're trying to look at wherein they can improve. So everyone right now collectively is looking at their industrial policies or where the reforms can come. One more thing, I'll touch upon Maharashtra as well. Maharashtra has, been doing road shows across the last couple of years. They're trying to attract investors from across the world, whether it be Taiwan, whether it be US, whether it be Japan, South Korea, etc. And again, they've drafted a plug-and-play model where investors will be provided land in a ready-to-move-in condition at an affordable cost. All permissions will be issued from a single green channel, and production kickstarted. Will be kickstarted in the shortest time possible. So these are some of the policies. These are some of the ideas which have been in implementation or already been implemented. One more thing that they're doing actively with the help of Invest India is actually doing a lot of investor outreach. moving forward, I'll also touch upon the entire single window ecosystem in India.
Yes.
But before that, I'll just say that all these states right now are currently working on their investor outreach that I mentioned. A lot of these digital communications have been planned. They have been conceptualized. They want to tap into the significant opportunities that are there right now. People are moving not just from China, but people are looking at safe havens. People are looking at new havens. I mentioned the India opportunity a while back. What are the key drivers? In one thing also that you have to look at as India's political risk, as compared to China, India's cost of production is also very favorable. So these are some of the other things that investors are considering. India has access to a very strong domestic market. Currently, given the fact that a lot of that market and that consumption might be subdued, but India also is in a very unique situation where we have access to different export markets. We have both from the Western hemisphere as well as the Eastern hemisphere. We have ports, we have strong infrastructure, we have good relationships with our different allies. We have good trade agreements with some of our allies. So it just puts us in a very unique situation, which these states are trying to capture and leverage, and also build that entire investment, capability and investment ecosystem. So just these are some of the incentives, some of the policies, and some of the work that has gone into the different states.
That's good to know about. Thank you, Atharv, for so much of insights. One thing after this, since we understand everything Invest India is doing, and in fact the investments are coming, but how difficult to represent ease of doing business when they have an impression by the media about the bureaucracy, the labor, the land acquisition laws are complicated, and multiple approvals slow down the entire process of setting up in India. So as you mentioned just before this discussion, that the states are giving certain level of parameters of plug and play. So how difficult for Invest India to tell the potential investors as well as that these laws are not being complicated, and you are portraying more of ease of doing business and setting up of business. So how Invest India plays a role of single clearance window from the point of view of clearance and setting up the operations.
Understood. So Kapil, as I mentioned before, our ease of doing business rank has improved from 130 in 2016 to 63 in 2019-20. We've improved. We are in the process of improving. I said we are keen learners. We are always looking at improving. We have a long way to go. It's, there are certain inefficiencies which are still there in the Indian market. Everyone knows that. India is a very unique country for that matter, that we have 29 states, 7 different union territories. We have at points and times, I remember during the entire outbreak of COVID, there were news articles which mentioned that India is actually dealing with the outbreak or the challenges, both from health as well as economic issues for close to 7 to 8 different countries. It feels that way, right? If you see the size of Maharashtra, you see the size of UP, see the size of Gujarat, and the likes. Invest India from 2014, as I mentioned, under the entire Make in India scheme and policy and initiative, we have been tasked with being that single point of contact for foreign investors coming into the country, hand-holding them, providing them all the facilitation, regulatory, policy support that they've required. As I mentioned, in great detail in the starting, some of the type of work that we do. Now in the Union Budget 2020, the Honorable Finance Minister mentioned that she proposed to set up an investment clearance cell that would provide end-to-end facilitation and support, including pre-investment advisory, information related to land banks, facilitate clearances at the center and state level. And it'll work through a portal. So this is essentially that single window clearance that was envisaged and is under implementation and conceptualization. Under conceptualization as we speak. Invest India is playing a critical role in the entire development of it with our parent department, DPIIT. Currently in India, we have 21 different states which have their single window clearances. Our states team, works very closely with some of these states. Now this new portal, which has been planned and is actually significant amount of work has gone into it. This is going to be a state-of-the-art technology platform and portal, which is going to integrate, the IIS of different states. So these are the information systems which has information pertaining to the geographical makeup of a particular district, region. And we also have something at Invest India known as the India Investment Grid. We would urge, I would urge some of your viewers to please go and have a look at this entire portal. It's also a large platform which has been developed in-house for foreign investors that are coming and looking at investing into the country. There are projects which are hosted by investors on that, the project detailed reports, the project statistics, the investment required, the type of ROIs, all those details have been captured in one form or the other. It's a great platform for investors that are looking at entering the market in already existing projects or projects that are coming into fruition. So it's going to be a collaborative effort. Invest India has been tasked with the development of that single window clearance. Now that single window clearance will provide, as I mentioned, it's a technology platform which with some of the state-of-the-art technology which we've envisaged to create as much ease for foreign investors. It's going to be a collaborative and harmonious effort between the state and the center. The incentives typically are given at state and then they're required to be taken at center. This portal will ensure that while the investments and the clearances, regulation are handled at the states, the center is just going to be plugged and played into each and every one of these single windows. So it's a very intuitive, again, there are different iterations that are going into it. There's different work. There is, and as I mentioned, there is a significant amount of work that's already gone into it. It will be rolled out soon. You will hear about it again. It was just announced back in the Union Budget in February 2020. We've been actively working on this. This has gone through multiple iterations. The entire timelines, conceptualization has all been drafted in some way or the other. The mechanism has also been, agreed upon to a degree. Again, timelines is something which we'll have to, discuss at a later time.
Okay. No.
But
that's good to know. And in fact, for the potential investor, that is something which is coming. And in fact, this government is doing a lot to invest to attract the investment. And specifically, our honorable Prime Minister is making this time more of optimistic for keeping ourselves the manufacturers in India. In terms of keeping the investors ready for their contract manufacturing, and as well as recently yesterday there was a scheme which was introduced in terms of the MSME sector, specifically to boost in terms of banking, to give the leverage in terms of the loans and other aspects as well. So that's something which is good about India in terms of this time, specifically to attract more kind of an investment. Not only making the investment from overseas, but also keeping the Indian manufacturers self-reliant to boost their activity.
Yes, I just on one point which you mentioned right now pertaining to MSMEs. So MSMEs and NBFCs are the economic backbone of our country. We have, so we have 60 million odd MSMEs registered in India alone. And currently the contribution to India's GDP is close to about 30% from these MSMEs. We are looking at bolstering and pushing that to over 50%. So MSMEs has come into this entire stimulus package, which was announced a couple of days ago. Some of the salient features of that, if you notice, there are 3 lakh crores collateral-free automatic loans for businesses, including MSMEs. A fund of funds has been set up with a corpus of 10,000 crores for equity infusion into these MSMEs.
Yes.
And, for NBFCs, there's been a special 30,000 crore specialty liquidity scheme for NBFCs, HFCs, MFIs. Just giving a strong foundation and support for this this backbone that I mentioned. Just a few days ago, a web portal, I think that's what you were referring to. It's called Champions. It's a tech-driven control room, come management information system, which has been launched by the Ministry of MSME. And it's part of its effort. It's part of the entire initiative and movement towards the government and the Ministry of MSME to support these enterprises. It's a portal which is helps smaller units with their grievances, providing support, helping and hand-holding. Again, it's envisaged, or it's supposed to be a one-stop solution for the entire MSME industry.
So we'll be listening more from you in the next sessions on the MSME, covering the specific aspect of MSME, either from your or any of your representative from the perspective, because MSME is something which requires a deeper intervention, that what all benefits, what all things which has come specifically with this package, and what all insights which either from the Invest India and Make in India team can be provided along with some person from the Ministry of MSME, which can provide more insights. So just lastly, closing this session with one of the question which what all the countries which have shown interest in India as an investment destination, and also that sectors which has recently been approached specifically from the COVID standpoint. I believe medical is one sector which is. But the audiences just want to understand more from the point of view of countries, the top countries which has shown interest, and the sectors. The top, you can just include the top sectors.
I'll touch upon some of the top ones. Obviously, the US is one of the ones which has indicated a strong investment, a desire to move its supply chains away from China, looking at alternative investment opportunities. India has emerged as a front runner. More than that, the Middle East and North Africa, the entire region. If you remember, in February 2019, the Crown Prince, of Saudi Arabia, has pledged $100 billion to investments and FDIs in India. So again, that's something that we are actively working with. You will see some of the largest companies with presence in India from Saudi Arabia. We have been working closely with some of them to enable those investments. So that's also something wherein there is a significant amount of opportunity. Other than that, the typical ones, the South Koreans, the Taiwanese, the Japanese, Germany. These are the ones that are typically looking at investment opportunities in India because of their strong manufacturing capabilities, and also the fact that now India has emerged or will emerge as an even stronger manufacturing base. So the sectors, again, like you rightly mentioned, medical devices, healthcare, pharmaceuticals, these are three of the ones which are, the shortest term, but there are so many more. There's the entire electronics and technology gambit. There's textiles, there's food processing, agri-chemicals. These are the sectors that will witness significant inflow of investments over the next couple of years from the aforementioned countries, that I just mentioned previously. So other than that, there are some new sectors, sunrise sectors that are also being targeted. We have capabilities and stronghold in the likes of leather and footwear. That's something that is further being explored, given the fact that a lot of companies from the US would be looking at, moving their base to India. That's something that we actively are chasing right now. The likes of furniture is something which India is also something that can be captured. And now India's strong entrepreneurship and innovation, and startup ecosystem enables companies in the research and development space, in the AI, ML, the newer technologies, Industry 4.0, automation, all those spaces as well. Those are newer, better, more efficient, and more cost-effective alternatives for investors to look at India actively. So, the opportunities are across the board. It's manufacturing, but it's service. It's multi-billion dollars, and it's small investments. India right now is ready. India has its arms, open for investors to come in. We are, gunning to go. We are gunning to reopen. We are gunning to drive those investments. Invest India is at the forefront of that entire initiative. The government is active right now, and just for entire ecosystem for investments, it's a new time, and as I mentioned, it's a time we have been reflecting. We've been looking back, but now it's time to look forward, and it's time to grow.
Thank you, Atharv, for the so insightful session about the Invest India, as well as what all policies, in fact, the incentives which government is looking up and doing in this point of time, wherein they are attracting the investment, all the optimistic behavior which India is showing to the potential investors from overseas. This is a great session and will surely will be helpful for all the audience. Since our forte is more from the point of view of giving them the knowledge, as well as from our platform by involving all the bureaucrats as well as people from Invest India to give them insights of what Invest India is doing and what exactly is the benefit of investing in India. Thank you, Atharv, and anything which you need to speak surely to for small talk about the Cretum advisory. If you can just speak in terms of what exactly the good part, because the team is all working from the ex-Big Four. Something you can just brief about us.
Absolutely, and I would urge your audience and the audience watching this to please do visit the Invest India website for more information. As previously mentioned, it's a comprehensive portal which would be informative, helpful, not just for the foreign investor, but for local investors or just the entire industry as a whole. And it was a pleasure speaking to you. Thank you so much, Kapil. Look forward to doing this again.
Okay. Thank you, Atharv.
Thanks.